Consistency is the quiet force that separates dreamers from doers, gamblers from professionals, and losers from winners. Most traders don't fail because they don't know enough. They don't fail because the markets are impossible. They fail because they never show up the same way twice. One day, they follow their plan. The next day, they let emotions take the wheel. One week, they're disciplined. The next week, they're chasing trades like addicts looking for a fix. This lack of consistency is the silent killer of trading accounts. And yet, the traders who survive, the ones who last long enough to taste success, all share one thing in common. They have mastered the psychology of consistency. It's easy to underestimate how powerful consistency really is. Most people want the big win. They want the one breakout trade that turns a $1,000 account into $10,000. They want to double their capital overnight. They fantasize about the jackpot moment that makes them rich and solves all their problems. But markets don't reward fantasies. They reward structure. They reward process. They reward the trader who shows up every single day with the same focus, the same patience, and the same discipline, regardless of yesterday's results. Think of an athlete training for the Olympics. He doesn't wake up and say, "I'll only train today if I feel like it." He doesn't sprint once, set a personal best, and then quit because the goal is achieved. He trains daily, relentlessly, because his success is built not on a single performance, but on a mountain of consistent effort stacked one on top of another. Trading is no different. Each session, each trade is not about winning big. It's about reinforcing habits. Small wins accumulate. Small disciplines build strength. Over time, these tiny, almost invisible actions compound into something unshakable. But here's the problem. Our brains are wired against consistency. The human mind craves novelty. It wants stimulation, excitement, and variety. Doing the same thing again and again feels boring. It feels repetitive. The very structure of consistency, its predictability, clashes with the thrill-seeking tendencies of our psychology. That's why sticking to a plan feels suffocating for most traders. They crave the adrenaline of a big gamble. They want to feel alive. The irony is that the very thing that feels boring is the only path to freedom. Consistency isn't about boredom, it's about liberation. Because once your actions become routine, once your process becomes automatic, you remove chaos from your trading. You no longer make decisions based on emotions or impulses. You operate like a machine, steady, precise, and reliable. That's when trading stops being gambling and starts being a business. Consider the difference between two traders who open the same chart. The first has no routine. He reacts impulsively, changing his lot size based on how confident he feels, moving stop losses when he's scared, jumping into trades because he doesn't want to miss out. His results are a roller coaster, up one week, down the next, until the inevitable crash wipes him out. The second trader follows a process. Same pre-market routine, same risk management, same entry and exit rules. He doesn't deviate, even when tempted. His results don't explode overnight, but they grow, slowly, steadily, consistently. After a year, his account is alive. After 3 years, he's profitable. After 5 years, he's untouchable. This is the psychology of consistency. The ability to do the same right thing over and over, even when it feels boring, even when your emotions scream at you to stop, even when the results don't show up immediately. It's a war against your own impatience. There's a reason casinos always win in the long run. They don't rely on one game, one bet, or one lucky spin. Their entire business is built on consistent probability. A slight edge, repeated thousands of times, guarantees profit. They don't care if one player wins a jackpot, because they know the consistency of their system will always bring the money back. Traders who think like casinos, who understand that the edge is only visible over hundreds of trades, develop a calm that gamblers never feel. Yet most traders sabotage themselves because they want too much, too fast. They treat every trade like it has to be the one. They put the weight of their financial future on a single setup. And when it doesn't work, their emotions spiral, their discipline shatters, and they abandon consistency. It's the same trap lottery players fall into, dreaming of an instant escape instead of building slow, reliable progress. Before we dive deeper, let me ask you this. Are you struggling with fear, doubt, or overtrading? The truth is, Most traders don't fail because of bad strategies. They fail because of bad psychology. That's why I created my ebook, Master Your Mind, Master Your Trades. It's packed with practical steps to control your emotions, stay disciplined, and trade like a pro. If you're ready to take your trading to the next level, check the link in the description and pinned comment and grab your copy today. Now let's continue. If you want proof of how dangerous inconsistency is, just look at your own past. How many times have you had a profitable system, only to abandon it after 2 or 3 losses? How many times have you broken your own rules, justifying it in the heat of the moment, only to regret it later? How many times have you told yourself, "I'll be disciplined this time," only to throw your plan out the window the first time the market tempted you? That cycle, hope, impulse, regret, repeat, is the opposite of consistency, and until you break it, freedom will remain a dream. Consistency doesn't mean never losing. It means showing up the same way, win or lose. It means controlling what you can control, and letting the market handle the rest. It means refusing to let short-term outcomes dictate your long-term behavior. The irony is that when you finally commit to consistency, you stop obsessing over results. You fall in love with the process. You measure your success not by whether today's trade won or lost, but by whether you executed your plan flawlessly. And when that shift happens, the results, the very thing you've been chasing, finally start to appear. The truth is, consistency is freedom. Because once you no longer need to gamble, once you no longer need to rely on luck, once you no longer let emotions swing your actions, you gain control over your destiny. Small wins don't feel dramatic, but they're the bricks that build financial independence. They're the seeds that, when nurtured daily, grow into wealth. Big results are never the product of big gambles. They are the product of small wins, repeated consistently, until they can no longer be ignored. That is the psychology of consistency. That is why most traders fail, and why a rare few succeed. There is a scene that plays out every single day in people's lives, yet almost no one pays attention to it. A man pours a cup of coffee, sits down at his desk, and writes down a number in a notebook. It's not large, just a simple $5 he saved from yesterday's spending. The act seems too small, too quiet, too insignificant to matter. But what he doesn't see is that this tiny, repetitive act is bending the direction of his entire future. Most people underestimate how much power is hidden inside the little things they repeat daily. They think big results come from big actions, dramatic risks, or sudden life-changing opportunities. They don't notice that everything extraordinary they admire in others usually started with something ordinary, done again and again until it became unstoppable. Consistency is the real multiplier of life, and the small win that looks meaningless today is often the seed of greatness tomorrow. History gives us example after example. Consider the bamboo tree. For years, you water it, nurture it, and wait. For years, nothing happens. The soil looks the same. The ground gives you no proof that your efforts matter. People pass by and laugh at your persistence. Then, in the 5th year, the bamboo shoots up more than 80 feet in just a few weeks. The world calls it sudden, but you know the truth, it wasn't sudden at all. It was years of invisible growth finally breaking through. That's what small wins look like in your own life. They are invisible at first. You won't see your body transform after one workout. You won't see your bank account explode after saving for a week. You won't feel wiser after reading a few pages of a book. But something is happening beneath the surface. Just like with the bamboo tree, your habits are laying roots. Your identity is shifting. Your discipline is compounding, even when nobody else notices. Think of 2 traders who begin with the same $1,000. The first believes in speed. He risks half his account on a single trade, chasing the thrill of a big victory. The second is cautious, risking only 1% per trade. The first trader feels like a genius when he doubles his money overnight. The second trader seems boring, collecting a handful of dollars at a time. But weeks later, the first trader blows up his account and starts over again, stuck in the endless loop of chasing and losing. The second trader, slowly but surely, has grown his account by steady percentages. It looks small in the beginning, but with time, it becomes unstoppable. The world rewards patience disguised as consistency, and the irony is that it never feels rewarding in the beginning. The brain is addicted to immediacy. Psychologists call it present bias. The the natural urge to value what we get right now over what we could build for tomorrow. That's why people spend instead of saving. That's why they want shortcuts instead of slow growth. That's why they give up when results aren't immediate. The discipline to embrace small wins is not natural, but it is transformative. There's a story from the early days of McDonald's that captures this perfectly. Ray Kroc wasn't the first to sell hamburgers. He wasn't the best cook, nor the most creative entrepreneur. What he understood, though, was consistency. He took a small restaurant run by two brothers and turned it into a system. Every burger was the same. Every fry was the same. Every customer knew exactly what they were getting, no matter where they were. It wasn't brilliance or uniqueness that made McDonald's a giant. It was repeatability, the relentless pursuit of small wins multiplied thousands of times. The same truth applies to every field. Michael Jordan didn't become the greatest basketball player of all time because of one game-winning shot. He became Jordan because of the countless hours he spent practicing when nobody was watching. Warren Buffett didn't become one of the richest men alive because of one brilliant investment. He became Buffett because he invested consistently and allowed compounding to do the heavy lifting over decades. Greatness looks dramatic from the outside, but on the inside, it's made up of countless ordinary repetitions stacked together. The hardest part is that small wins don't feel like progress. You read a book tonight, and your mind feels the same. You go to the gym for a week, and the mirror doesn't change. You invest for a month, and the numbers look small. This is where most people quit. They mistake invisibility for failure. They think if results can't be seen quickly, then they don't exist. But in reality, it is the invisible stage that matters most. The boring phase. The stage where nothing seems to be happening is exactly when the roots are growing deeper. One of the most dangerous lies people tell themselves is that they will begin tomorrow, or next week, or when they feel ready. They imagine some dramatic starting point, some grand transformation where everything changes at once. But the truth is, change never happens that way. It begins with the smallest possible step, repeated until it becomes second nature. A single push-up today, a single dollar saved, a single page read, and then another, and another, until the weight of thousands of repetitions transforms your life in ways you could never predict at the beginning. Consistency doesn't just compound results, it compounds identity. Every small choice is a vote. When you choose discipline over impulse, you cast a vote for becoming someone stronger. When you choose patience over greed, you cast a vote for becoming someone wiser. When you choose to show up when you don't feel like it, you cast a vote for becoming someone unstoppable. No single choice defines you, but thousands of votes accumulate into a person you may not even recognize years later. That's why small wins matter more than big victories. Big victories are rare. They depend on timing, opportunity, even luck. Small wins are always within reach. They are the bricks you lay daily, the quiet actions that build unshakable momentum. And while the world celebrates the final structure, it is those bricks that made it possible. Think of a man who sets out to climb a mountain. He doesn't leap to the top in one motion. He takes step after step, some days climbing higher, other days moving slowly, but always moving forward. From the base, the mountain looks impossible. But after thousands of small, steady steps, he finds himself standing at the peak. The peak wasn't conquered in a single moment of glory. It was conquered through the countless invisible steps nobody else cared to count. The tragedy is that most people quit halfway up the mountain. They start with enthusiasm, but when results don't appear instantly, they convince themselves it's not worth it. They abandon their journey and run back down, never realizing how close they were to the moment where compounding takes over. Success is often not about intelligence or luck. It's about refusing to quit before the breakthrough. Years later, the man who saved $5 a day is financially free, while the man who laughed at him is still stuck in debt. The trader who risked 1% per trade is managing a large account, while the gambler is still searching for the next miracle. The athlete who practiced daily is remembered as a legend, while the one who chased shortcuts is forgotten. It always comes back to the same principle, the psychology of consistency. The human mind resists it because it feels slow, but the universe rewards it because it compounds. The gap between those who succeed and those who fail isn't talent, it isn't luck, it isn't timing, it is consistency. The boring, daily, unglamorous discipline to stack small wins when nobody is watching. If you want to see your life change, stop chasing fireworks and start stacking bricks. Save the dollar, read the page, take the trade with discipline. Repeat it tomorrow, and the day after, and the day after that. One day, years from now, people will call you lucky. They will call you brilliant. They will call you exceptional. And you'll know the truth. You were simply consistent. And that consistency created results that no single big win could ever match. There's a moment in every journey where the test of patience becomes unbearable. You've been showing up, doing the work, sticking to the plan, but results are nowhere in sight. The graph is flat, the mirror shows no change, the account looks the same, the needle refuses to move. This is the moment most people give up. And ironically, this is also the moment when they are often the closest to the breakthrough. Imagine a blacksmith hammering away at a piece of iron. Blow after blow, the iron doesn't bend, doesn't crack, doesn't seem to react. The blacksmith doesn't stop though. He keeps hammering, knowing that the 100th strike might be the one that causes the iron to finally break. It isn't the final strike alone that breaks it. It is the accumulation of the 99 before it, none of which seemed to matter at the time. Progress is always invisible until it suddenly isn't. But human psychology hates this waiting period. The mind craves certainty. It craves proof. When the proof doesn't come fast enough, the whispers begin, maybe this isn't working. Maybe you're wasting your time. Maybe there's a faster way. And those whispers grow louder until quitting feels rational, even wise. Yet quitting is always premature. The bamboo that takes 5 years to sprout would never shoot 80 feet in the air if you stopped watering it in year 4. This pattern is everywhere. Students give up on learning a language after months of practice because they still stumble over words, unaware that fluency was just a few more months away. Investors abandon their strategy during a flat season, never realizing they were one cycle away from the compounding explosion. Writers quit their craft after publishing books that no one reads, not knowing that the bestseller might have been the next one. The world is filled with abandoned attempts that were only inches away from transformation. Why does this happen so often? Because consistency is not glamorous. The early stages of any effort feel exciting. There's energy, novelty, the thrill of imagining what success might look like. But as time passes, that excitement fades and the effort turns into monotony. Showing up feels heavy. Doing the work feels mechanical. And since results are not instant, the brain interprets monotony as failure. It whispers, "You're wasting your life." This is where the difference between winners and everyone else is carved. Winners feel the same monotony, the same doubt, the same temptation to give up, but they keep going anyway. They understand that monotony is not a sign of failure, it is a sign of progress. They don't need proof right away, because they know compounding is always invisible before it is unstoppable. Take Thomas Edison as an example. He failed thousands of times while attempting to invent the light bulb. Each failure could have been interpreted as proof that his idea was impossible. Instead, he framed them as small wins, steps forward, lessons learned, information gathered. He didn't quit before the breakthrough because he believed every failure was simply part of the process. That is the psychology of consistency at its purest form. Now, compare this to the modern trader who quits their strategy after a losing streak. They interpret failure as a dead end, not as data. They chase a new strategy, only to repeat the cycle again. They never give any single method enough time for consistency to do its magic. They confuse the noise of short-term randomness with the truth of long-term probability. And so they stay stuck forever, because they keep leaving right before the compounding kicks in. Here's the brutal reality. Most people are not defeated by lack of talent, lack of resources, or lack of opportunity. They are defeated by time. They cannot hold the line long enough. They underestimate how long things actually take, and because of that, they bail out too early. If you stay consistent longer than most people can tolerate, you automatically rise above them, not because you're smarter, but because you're still there when they're gone. The gym is the simplest example. January is crowded with people who made resolutions. By February, half are gone. By March, only a fraction remain. By June, the place is empty except for the handful who refused to quit when it got boring. Who do you think has transformed by the end of the year? Not the ones who came with fire and disappeared. The ones who dragged themselves in, week after week, even when they didn't feel like it. Consistency is not about intensity. It is about survival. It's about outlasting your impulses, your emotions, and your doubts long enough for compounding to reveal itself. And this is why most people fail. They cannot endure the invisible phase. They cannot handle the silence of progress that hides beneath the surface. Think of a water pump. At first you crank it and nothing happens. You crank harder, still nothing. You sweat, push, grind, and the pump resists. Most people stop here, tired of effort with no reward. But if you keep cranking, eventually water bursts out. From that point forward, it flows steadily, requiring less effort. But you only reach the flow if you endure the dry, unrewarding phase, and that is where most people quit. What makes this worse is the illusion of shortcuts. We live in a culture obsessed with speed, fast money, fast fame, fast results. Social media amplifies this illusion, showing only the highlight reels of success without the years of silent struggle behind them. People compare their slow progress to someone else's finished product and conclude they're failing. They don't realize that the person they admire was once invisible too, grinding in the shadows, repeating boring steps when no one was watching. Consistency requires faith. Faith that what you're doing matters, even when there's no proof yet. Faith that invisible effort will one day become visible results. Faith that you are closer to the breakthrough than it feels. Without that faith, you will quit before the reward arrives. With it, you can endure longer than everyone else, and eventually, the reward becomes inevitable. The irony is that the very thing people fear, the slow, boring grind, is the same thing that protects them from failure. Because consistency is so hard, most people won't do it. That means if you can, you're already ahead. If you can stick with your process longer than others, your competition naturally eliminates itself. You win not by being exceptional, but by refusing to stop. Imagine two runners starting a marathon. One sprints at full speed, trying to win in the first few miles. The other paces himself, slow but steady. Halfway through, the sprinter collapses, exhausted, unable to keep going. The steady runner keeps moving, eventually crossing the finish line. He wasn't faster, stronger, or even more talented. He simply endured. And that endurance created victory. The same is true for trading, business, relationships, health, every area of life. The people who win are not those who shine brightest at the beginning. They are the ones who keep showing up long after the excitement has died. They don't mistake monotony for failure. They don't chase shortcuts. They don't quit before the breakthrough. Years later, those who quit will look back with regret, wondering how close they might have been. They will remember the days they almost stuck with it, almost endured, almost believed. And they will tell themselves stories about how things just weren't meant to be. But deep down, they will know the truth. They quit too early. You cannot afford to make that mistake. You cannot abandon your consistency in the silent stage when nothing seems to move. Because it is precisely in that stage that the real transformation is happening beneath the surface. And when the breakthrough finally comes, it will not be because of one dramatic action. It will be because you refuse to quit during the invisible years. So the question is simple. Will you stop hammering when the iron refuses to bend? Will you stop watering the bamboo when the soil looks barren? Will you quit pumping the well before the water flows? Or will you hold the line, endure the monotony, and outlast everyone else until the breakthrough arrives? Because in the end, consistency doesn't ask if you're the smartest, the strongest, or the luckiest. It only asks, are you still here? The greatest trick in human progress is compounding. It is so powerful that it can turn the smallest, most insignificant actions into massive, life-changing results. Yet it is so quiet, so invisible in the beginning, that almost nobody waits long enough to experience it. And that is why consistency feels pointless for most people, because they quit before compounding has a chance to reveal its magic. Picture a glass jar with a single penny inside. Tomorrow you double it, 2 pennies. The next day, 4, then 8. Then 16. At first it feels laughable. After a week, you barely have $1. After 2 weeks, you have only $81. By day 20, just over $5,000. Still unimpressive compared to the dreams people have of instant success. But by day 30, the jar explodes to more than $5 million. And by day 31, $10 million. That is compounding, the slowest thing in the world at first, and then the fastest thing you've ever seen. But here's the catch. Most people quit on day 12. They look at the jar and say, "This isn't working. I've been consistent for almost 2 weeks, and all I have is $81. What's the point?" They walk away, unaware that they were just days away from exponential growth. They confuse the early quiet phase with failure, and because of that, they never experience the explosion. This is why small wins matter more than big swings. Because small wins, repeated long enough, activate compounding. A trader who makes 1% a week may look unimpressive compared to someone who doubles their account in a month. But fast money usually dies fast. The one chasing huge returns ends up blowing up. Meanwhile, the 1% trader slowly builds, compounding over years into something enormous. They look ordinary at first, but extraordinary in the end. The gym works the same way. A person who lifts a modest amount every day and eats consistently healthy doesn't look different after a month. They might even feel discouraged. But after a year, their body has transformed completely. Meanwhile, someone who tries extreme diets, wild workout programs, and quick fixes burns out and gives up. One chose compounding, the other chose shortcuts. One wins quietly, the other loses loudly. The strange thing about compounding is how deceptive it feels in real time. You can show up for months, maybe years, and still feel like nothing is happening. You might ask yourself, why am I even doing this? But behind the scenes, something is building. The invisible groundwork is stacking up, preparing for the tipping point. It's like heating water. From 30 degrees Celsius to 99 degrees Celsius, it's just hot water. Nothing seems to change. Then, suddenly, at 100 degrees Celsius, it boils. That final degree feels dramatic, but it only happens because of all the heat before it. This is where most people lose the game. They cannot handle delayed gratification. They live in a world that rewards immediacy, instant likes, instant delivery, instant validation. So when consistency demands patience, they rebel. They want results now, not later. And when the results don't come instantly, they abandon the process. They kill compounding before it has a chance to reward them. Think about Warren Buffett. The majority of his wealth didn't come in his 30s, or 40s, or even 50s. It came after 60, when compounding had decades to grow. He is not the richest investor because he found some secret strategy. He is the richest because he stayed in the game the longest. He let compounding do its work, while everyone else tried to get rich quick and failed. Consistency, then, is nothing more than an agreement with compounding. You are saying, I will show up long enough for the invisible to become visible. I will keep hammering the stone until it cracks. I will keep planting seeds until the harvest comes. I will not quit during the silent years, because I know silence is part of the process. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Consistency feels unfair. You can do the right things for months and see no reward. You can make the right trades, eat the right meals, study the right material, and still feel stuck. This unfairness is where most people lose hope. They think, if it's not working by now, maybe it never will. And they're wrong, because compounding doesn't operate on our timeline. It operates on its own. Consider a mountain climber. At the bottom, the peak looks impossibly far. Each step feels small, almost meaningless compared to the distance ahead. Hours pass, exhaustion builds, but the mountain hardly looks closer. Most climbers quit here, believing they're getting nowhere. But the truth is, every step is progress, even when the mountain mocks you by looking the same. And then, after enough steps, the summit suddenly comes into view. The breakthrough was hidden the entire time, until it wasn't. That's compounding. That's consistency. The climb always feels endless until it doesn't. The tragedy is that people don't trust the process. They keep switching strategies, changing directions, abandoning what they started. They reset the clock every time. Imagine planting a tree, watering it for 3 months, then pulling it out of the ground because it didn't grow fast enough. Then planting another one, watering again, only to quit when that one is still small. If you keep uprooting, you will never have shade, never taste fruit. The tree wasn't failing, you were. This is why mastery is so rare. Most people can start, Very few can continue through the boring middle, the invisible middle, the slow, unrewarding middle. The world is filled with abandoned projects, half-finished businesses, unfinished books, broken diets, abandoned dreams. All of them died because compounding was interrupted. The seed was never given time to grow. But the ones who stay, those are the outliers. The trader who sticks to their edge long enough to see probabilities play out. The athlete who trains daily long before anyone is watching. The artist who creates relentlessly before a single person notices. They aren't lucky. They are consistent. And because they stayed, compounding eventually made them look inevitable. You don't need brilliance to win. You don't need superhuman talent. You don't need luck. You just need to stay long enough for the quiet work to turn into loud results. Compounding is not biased. It rewards whoever lasts. The danger is that impatience makes you blind. You compare your day 20 to someone else's day 3000 and feel like you're losing. But you're not losing. You're just early. The only way you lose is by quitting. If you keep going, compounding guarantees you will win. So the question is simple. Can you wait? Can you trust the invisible? Can you stay consistent through the silence, the monotony, the boredom? Can you keep watering the bamboo when nothing breaks the surface? Can you keep hammering when the stone doesn't crack? Can you keep climbing when the peak refuses to look closer? Because here's the truth. The breakthrough is always closer than it feels. The jar may look empty today, but tomorrow it could overflow. The mountain may look endless, but the summit could be around the corner. The stone may look unbreakable, but the next strike could be the one. Most people will never know, because they'll quit too early. The only way to find out is to stay. The traders who endure, the ones who survive the storms and rise steadily to the top, are rarely the loudest in the room. They are rarely the ones flaunting exotic cars, posting screenshots of a lucky winning streak, or screaming about doubling their accounts in a week. No, the real winners of the game are often quiet, steady, and almost invisible. They go about their work like craftsmen, carefully placing one brick on top of another, day after day, until they build something unshakable. That's the hidden strength of routine. And in trading, routine isn't boring, it's freedom. Think about the paradox here. Most people come to trading because they want freedom. Freedom from their jobs, freedom from financial stress, freedom from the rules others set for them. They want excitement, adventure, the thrill of the markets. But the irony is that the traders who actually achieve freedom are the ones who submit themselves to structure, to rules, to an almost monk-like routine. It sounds like a contradiction, but it's one of the deepest truths of this game. Routine creates freedom, while randomness creates slavery. The slavery of randomness is something many traders know all too well. Imagine waking up one morning, opening the charts, and feeling that nervous itch in your chest. You don't have a plan for the day, but you see a candlestick formation that looks tempting. You jump in. The trade goes against you, so you take another one, and then another, until your account is in red and your emotions are wrecked. That is what a life without routine looks like in trading. Reactive, frantic, unstable. You aren't in control. The market is in control of you. Now compare that to the trader who has crafted a routine. This trader wakes up at the same time each day. They don't rush into the charts. Instead, they start with something simple like a short walk, meditation, or journaling. They open their charts only at a designated time, knowing exactly what setups they are looking for. If nothing is there, they walk away without hesitation. They don't chase. They don't improvise out of desperation. Their routine keeps them grounded. And the more they follow it, the more freedom they feel, because the routine becomes automatic. They no longer spend hours in inner battles against temptation. They don't need to argue with themselves about whether to take a random trade. Their routine has already decided for them. One of the greatest psychological benefits of routine is that it reduces decision fatigue. Every decision you make throughout the day consumes a bit of your mental energy. That's why by the evening, people are more likely to make poor choices, give in to temptations, or lose patience. In trading, if you leave every decision up to impulse, you burn through your mental energy faster than you realize. But when you have a clear routine, wake up, analyze, wait for your setup, execute only if conditions are met, you save that energy for the moments that really matter. Routine protects your psychology from exhaustion. There's another layer to this. Routine builds identity. Every time you stick to your routine, you're sending a powerful signal to yourself. This is who I am. I am a disciplined trader. I follow my process. I don't bend to emotions. And that identity compounds over time. It's no longer about forcing yourself to act a certain way. It becomes natural, even effortless. When you skip your routine, you feel off, like something is missing. That's when you know it has become a part of who you are. The opposite is also true. Every time you break your routine, you send yourself a dangerous signal. Maybe I'm not as disciplined as I thought. Maybe I can't control myself. Maybe I'm still that impulsive trader who chases trades. And once that doubt creeps in, it's like poison to your confidence. You start hesitating, second-guessing, overanalyzing. A broken routine often snowballs into broken confidence, and broken confidence usually leads to broken accounts. This is why some of the greatest traders in history often talk less about strategies and more about their process. Paul Tudor Jones famously said that he focuses more on controlling his risk than on predicting the market. Jesse Livermore spoke about the importance of waiting, sometimes for weeks, for the market to align with his method. These traders weren't obsessed with constant action. They were obsessed with structure. They built routines around risk, patience, and process, and those routines became the backbone of their success. The fascinating part is that routine doesn't only create financial results, it reshapes your emotional life. When you have a strong trading routine, you no longer ride the same emotional roller coaster of highs and lows. You aren't euphoric after a win or crushed after a loss. Your emotions flatten into a calm, steady rhythm. You stop looking at trading as a daily battlefield and start seeing it as a craft, something you simply practice day in and day out. And that's when trading stops feeling like gambling and starts feeling like mastery. But here's the challenge. Building a routine is easy to talk about and difficult to maintain. The market constantly tempts you to abandon it. Every time you see a fast-moving candle, your brain screams, take it, you'll miss out. That voice is loud. It's urgent. It tells you that you'll regret it if you don't act now. And it always shows up in moments when your routine tells you to wait. That's why most traders break their routines. They listen to the loud voice of impulse instead of the quiet discipline of structure. The only way to silence that voice is repetition. Every time you choose your routine over impulse, the voice gets weaker. The first time, it feels almost impossible to resist. The second time, slightly easier. The 10th time, you barely hear it. Repetition rewires your brain. Your impulses lose their grip, and your routine becomes second nature. That's how real discipline is built. Not through one heroic act of willpower, but through countless small acts of consistency. And yet, even with routine, you will face days of doubt. Days when nothing sets up, when you watch the market move without you, when you wonder if your routine is holding you back from opportunities. But this is where the hidden strength lies. Those moments of doubt are actually the proof that your routine is working. Because trading is not about catching every move. It's about catching the right moves. The ones that align with your method, your risk, your psychology. The discipline to stick to your routine during the quiet, frustrating days is the very thing that allows you to be present and sharp when the real opportunity finally arrives. Think about professional athletes. They don't only show up on game day. They show up every day, training, practicing, repeating the same drills, often in silence, with no applause, no excitement. It's the repetition of routine that allows them to perform under pressure when it matters most. Trading is the same. Your routine is your training ground. Without it, you freeze when the moment comes. With it, you flow. There's a story about a trader who used to obsessively jump into the markets every morning, desperate to catch the big move. After years of losses, he finally forced himself into a routine. No trades before 10 a.m., only setups in line with his plan, maximum 2 trades a day. At first, it felt suffocating, like he was missing out. But after months of sticking to it, his results changed. He wasn't losing anymore. He wasn't stressed all the time. His equity curve began to rise, not in spikes, but in steady steps. When asked what changed, he didn't say, "I found the perfect strategy." He said, "I found the discipline to live by a routine." That's the hidden strength. Routine is not glamorous. It won't make headlines. It won't impress people who are chasing quick riches, but it will make you consistent. And consistency is what trading is all about. Every great trader you admire isn't great because of one legendary trade. They're great because of thousands of small, consistent actions, repeated over years. They built routines and lived by them until the market had no choice but to reward them. So the question is simple but not easy. Will you surrender to the chaos of impulse, or will you surrender to the order of routine? Because one of them will control you. Either your impulses run your trading, or your routine does. One leads to frustration, burnout, and failure. The other leads to calm, mastery, and freedom. And maybe that's the ultimate paradox of trading. The path to freedom isn't wild risk-taking, and it isn't endless chasing of setups. The path to freedom is found in the quiet repetition of small, disciplined routines. The more you submit to them, the more the market opens up to you. The small wins pile up, the emotional storms calm down, and suddenly you look back and realize you've built something permanent, something steady, something free. Now pause and ask yourself, what does your daily trading routine look like? And is it strong enough to protect you from your own impulses? One of the least glamorous truths about trading is this: it's boring. Nobody wants to admit it, but it's the truth. The movies, the social media posts, the flashy images of traders yelling at screens or pulling off million-dollar wins in seconds, that's all theater. In reality, the path of a successful trader is slow, repetitive, and often uneventful. And that's precisely why so few traders succeed. Because most people don't have the patience or the humility to endure boredom. The human brain is wired for stimulation. We crave novelty, variety, excitement. That's why people spend hours scrolling through social media, why casinos pump out flashing lights and ringing sounds, why marketing always promises something new and revolutionary. We're addicted to the next hit of dopamine. And when we bring that addiction into trading, it becomes a poison. Because trading rewards patience, not excitement. The market pays the trader who waits, who repeats the same process over and over again, who treats each day like the last. But for the trader addicted to novelty, the boredom feels unbearable. Think about the last time you sat in front of your charts and saw nothing. Maybe the setups weren't there. Maybe the market was slow, moving sideways with no clear direction. You stared for 20 minutes, maybe an hour. And then that itch started crawling into your chest. That whisper in your mind, just take something. Anything. Maybe you can force a trade and catch a quick win. That whisper is boredom turning into temptation. And every time you listen to it, you destroy your consistency. This is why boredom is the hidden enemy of trading psychology. It doesn't scream at you like fear or greed. It doesn't overwhelm you like panic. It sneaks in quietly. It makes you restless. It convinces you that doing nothing is losing time, that waiting is weakness, that patience is foolish. But the truth is the opposite. Doing nothing when nothing is there is one of the hardest skills to master. And mastering that skill is the foundation of greatness. The best traders in the world are masters of boredom. They sit for days, sometimes weeks, without making a move. They don't need constant action to feel alive. They don't need constant wins to validate their identity. They know their edge, they know their system, and they are willing to wait as long as it takes. To the outside world, it looks uneventful, even dull, but to them, it's discipline. And discipline, repeated in boredom, turns into power. There's a story often told about a legendary trader who once went 3 weeks without a single trade. His students thought he had lost his touch. They grew impatient, questioning his methods, wondering if he was afraid. And then one morning, the perfect setup appeared. He entered. Within 2 days, the trade ran massively in his favor, erasing all doubts. His students learned a lesson they never forgot. The great traders don't measure their success by the number of trades, but by the quality of them. And to find quality, you must endure the silence of boredom. But here's the paradox. Boredom is not a sign you're failing. It's a sign you're on the right track. Because if you're truly following a consistent system, you won't have trades every hour, or even every day. Real setups are rare. Edges appear infrequently. Most of the time, your job is to wait. That waiting feels uncomfortable because the brain craves stimulation. But in trading, That discomfort is the signal that you're doing what few are willing to do. And yet, most traders never survive this stage. They mistake boredom for stagnation. They think, if I'm not in a trade, I'm not progressing. They confuse action with growth. So they break their own rules, take random trades, and end up in a cycle of small wins erased by big losses. And when they look back, they wonder why they never got anywhere. The answer was boredom. They couldn't endure it long enough to let consistency compound. Consistency, after all, is not glamorous. It doesn't feel exciting. It feels ordinary. But ordinary, repeated for long enough, creates extraordinary. Think about compound interest. Watching your account grow by 0.5% or 1% a day feels painfully slow. But repeat that for months, years, without breaking the cycle, and suddenly the numbers become life-changing. The same is true in trading. The daily process feels small, boring, even meaningless. But over time, it builds something unstoppable. This is why trading is more psychological than technical. Anyone can learn chart patterns, candlestick formations, or indicators. That knowledge is everywhere. But very few can sit in silence, watching nothing happen, and feel completely at peace with it. Very few can go a whole week without a trade and not feel like they're failing. Very few can accept that greatness is built in boredom, not in constant excitement. And here's the strange beauty of it. Once you embrace boredom, you begin to see trading differently. You stop seeing it as a source of thrill, and you start seeing it as a craft. Just like a sculptor chisels stone day after day, repeating the same motions, often with no immediate result, so too does a trader repeat the same routine, day after day, often with no immediate win. And just like the sculptor, it's the repetition that eventually creates something beautiful. But let's be honest, this shift doesn't happen easily. There will be days when you open the charts, see nothing, and feel frustration boil in your chest. There will be moments when you envy other traders who seem to be always in a trade. You'll see people on social media bragging about catching every move, and you'll wonder if you're missing out. That's the psychological trap. Social proof convinces you that you're too slow, too cautious, too boring. And if you let that envy seep in, you'll break your discipline. What those traders rarely show is the losses, the blown accounts, the desperation behind the scenes. The market rewards patience and punishes impulsiveness. The ones always in a trade are rarely the ones who last. The ones who wait, who accept the boredom, are the ones who quietly build wealth while the impulsive burn out. So how do you survive boredom? By reframing it. Stop seeing boredom as wasted time. See it as proof of your discipline. Every minute you wait without forcing a trade is a victory. Every day you follow your routine without breaking it is progress. Every time you choose silence over action, you're building the mental toughness that separates professionals from amateurs. It's also about building rituals around the boredom. If your routine is only staring at charts, the boredom will crush you. But if your routine includes journaling, backtesting, reading, reviewing old trades, or even stepping away from the charts entirely, boredom becomes productivity. You're still working on your craft, even when the market gives you nothing. That's how you turn waiting into growth. The truth is, the boredom never goes away. Even the greatest traders still feel it. The difference is, they no longer fight it. They accept it as part of the game, part of the price of consistency. They know that behind the boredom is the moment they've been waiting for. And when that moment comes, they're ready. Calm, sharp, disciplined. The ones who broke under boredom are long gone, their accounts drained. The ones who endured stand alone in the winner's circle. So when you feel that itch, that restless need to do something, remind yourself, boredom is not your enemy. It's the doorway. On the other side of boredom lies greatness. On the other side of silence lies consistency. And only those willing to sit through it will ever see the other side. The markets will test you not with chaos, but with stillness. They will test you not with storms, but with silence. And in that silence, your true character is revealed. Will you give in to the impulse to act, or will you stay steady, patient, boring? That choice, repeated every day, is what separates those who dream of success from those who actually live it. The irony is simple. The more you embrace boredom, the more extraordinary your results become. The less you chase excitement, the more consistent you become. The traders who crave action fade away, while the traders who master stillness rise quietly to the top. And maybe that's the greatest question you can ask yourself right now. Are you willing to be bored enough to become great? There comes a point in every trader's journey where the technical side no longer matters as much as the psychological one. By now, you've studied enough strategies, watched enough videos, and memorized enough setups to know that there are endless ways to trade the market. But you've also realized that none of them matter if you don't have the consistency to apply them over time. The difference between a trader who makes it and a trader who fails is rarely about knowledge, it's about behavior. It's about showing up every single day and doing what most people can't, sticking to the boring, disciplined path until the results compound into something undeniable. But here's the truth most traders don't want to face. Consistency isn't a feeling. It isn't about confidence or passion or motivation. It isn't even about having the perfect plan. Consistency is a choice. It's waking up on the days you don't feel like it and still sitting down at your desk. It's following your routine when nothing is happening in the market. It's waiting through silence, taking the same setups, risking the same percentages, journaling the same notes, repeating the same behaviors over and over again until they become second nature. It's ordinary repetition, carried out long enough to become extraordinary results. The world doesn't celebrate repetition. It celebrates breakthroughs, big wins, dramatic moments. That's why most traders quit. They think greatness should feel like fireworks. They expect some grand epiphany, some magical trade that changes their life overnight. And when it doesn't come, they get discouraged, start doubting themselves, and give up. What they never realize is that the breakthrough was already happening, not in a single trade, but in the dozens of small disciplined actions they abandoned too soon. Consistency is like planting a seed. At first, nothing happens. You water it, take care of it, and still the soil looks empty. Days pass, weeks pass, and you see nothing. Most people stop there. They assume the seed is dead. But if you keep showing up, watering, protecting, waiting, one day, without warning, a sprout breaks through the dirt. That tiny sprout is proof that your consistency was never wasted. That's how trading works. The process feels invisible at first, but beneath the surface, your discipline is building roots. And if you keep going, eventually the results emerge, undeniable and alive. Think about the traders who lasted long enough to succeed. They didn't get there because of one strategy or one magical trade. They got there because they kept showing up when it felt pointless. They endured the months of slow growth, the weeks of drawdowns, the endless days of boredom. They kept putting in the work when nobody noticed. And when their consistency finally compounded, people called them lucky, or talented, or genius. But the truth is, they were none of those things. They were consistent. That's it. The irony is, consistency isn't glamorous, but it's powerful. It's the most underrated force in trading and in life. Imagine taking one small step every day in the same direction for a year. At first, the progress is barely visible. But after 12 months, you've moved so far that the person who started is unrecognizable. Now imagine doing that for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. That's what separates a trader with a dream from a trader with a career. Time multiplied by consistency equals transformation. But here's the hard part. Consistency demands sacrifice. It means saying no to impulses. It means missing trades that don't fit your plan, even if they look tempting. It means walking away when you're in profit instead of chasing more. It means shutting down the computer after hitting your daily target instead of pushing your luck. These sacrifices feel small in the moment, but together they form the armor that protects you from self-destruction. Most traders fail not because they lack knowledge, but because they refuse to make those sacrifices. They trade when they shouldn't, they risk more than they can handle, they break their own rules, and the market punishes them. The market doesn't reward brilliance. It rewards discipline. It rewards the trader who shows up again and again, who treats trading like a business, who doesn't get swayed by emotions or ego. The market punishes gamblers but pays the steady hand. And the steady hand only comes from consistency. Think of a professional athlete. A basketball player doesn't train once a month and expect to perform in the NBA. He practices daily, even when it's boring, even when nobody is watching, even when he doesn't feel motivated. A musician doesn't pick up an instrument randomly and expect to master it. They play scales, practice chords, repeat the basics endlessly. Trading is no different. If you treat it like a hobby, it will pay you like a hobby. If you treat it like a profession, with consistent effort, it will reward you like one. But the challenge is deeper than just routine. The real test is psychological, because consistency doesn't always give immediate results. You can follow your plan perfectly for a week and still lose money. You can stay disciplined for a month and still end up break even. And in those moments, the temptation to abandon your process is at its peak. Your mind whispers, "It's not working. Try something new. Do more." Force results. That's the fork in the road. One path leads to the graveyard of failed traders, the other to mastery. The only difference is whether you can endure temporary pain in order to achieve long-term gain. Every consistently profitable trader has walked through that storm. They've endured the drawdowns, the losing streaks, the moments of doubt. They didn't escape those struggles, they faced them and kept going. That's what made them consistent. Not a lack of hardship, but the refusal to quit. And here's the secret most won't tell you. Consistency isn't built in winning trades. It's built in losing ones. Anyone can be consistent when they're winning. Anyone can stick to the plan when the results are positive. But when the market takes money from you, when you feel the sting of loss, when your confidence is shaken, that's when your true consistency is revealed. Do you double down in desperation, or do you stay disciplined? Do you break your rules, or do you follow them even in pain? Every loss is a test, and every disciplined response is a victory. Over time, those victories add up. They shape your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who trades for excitement and start seeing yourself as a professional who executes a process. You stop defining yourself by single trades and start defining yourself by the consistency of your actions. That shift is the turning point. That's when you stop being another trader chasing success and start being the trader who is success. And perhaps that's the ultimate lesson of consistency. It's not just about trading. It's about who you become in the process. Trading has a way of exposing you to yourself. It magnifies your impatience, your greed, your fears, your lack of discipline. But if you stay consistent, it also refines you. It teaches you patience, humility, discipline, resilience. These traits don't just make you a better trader, they make you a stronger person. The market is the most ruthless teacher in the world. It doesn't care about your feelings. It doesn't care about your dreams. It only rewards consistency. And if you can learn to show up every day, to follow your process, to embrace boredom, to respect risk, to endure loss, then you're not just becoming a trader, you're becoming someone who can thrive in any area of life. The irony is, the small wins you collect along the way don't just build your account, they build your identity. Each disciplined action is proof to yourself that you are in control. Each consistent day adds another brick to the foundation of confidence. And eventually, you look back and realize you've built something massive. Not with luck, not with shortcuts, but with thousands of small, ordinary steps. That's why consistency is so powerful. It's the bridge between who you are now and who you want to become. It's the invisible force that turns dreams into reality. It's the quiet, unglamorous, repetitive actions that nobody notices, until one day, everyone does. So here's the final truth. You don't need to be smarter than other traders. You don't need to predict the market better. You don't need to reinvent strategies or chase secret formulas. You just need to be consistent longer than they are. Most traders quit. Most traders lose patience. Most traders can't endure boredom. If you can simply stay consistent, you'll outlast them. And in trading, survival is victory. At the end of the day, the market doesn't care about your potential. It cares about your consistency. That's the real edge. That's the real difference between those who talk about trading success and those who actually live it. So, the question is simple. Will you be the trader who quits when it gets boring, or the trader who shows up anyway? Will you chase excitement and burn out, or will you choose consistency and let it build your future? The answer is in your actions, not once, not twice, but every single day. Because in trading, greatness isn't built in what you do occasionally. It's built in what you do consistently.